Welcome back to Morning Live. Now, as the Africa Cup of Nations group stages come to a close today, we have a special guest to help us, amongst other things, dissect matters which have been unfolding in Cameroon. Coach Cavin Johnson, welcome to Sports on Morning Live.
Good morning, Basiwe, and thank you for having me on your show. And good morning to all the sports guys that watch football this time of the morning.
Certainly. Let's talk about this Africa Cup of Nations tournament. I mean, it hasn't been plain sailing for the traditional African giants. You look at Ghana, they're out of the competition. Defending champions Algeria really struggling so far. And Tunisia, which is a country that hasn't had a great tournament so far. And on the other side of that, you've got Comoros, Malawi and Sierra Leone, countries which we weren't expecting to do as well as they are, really showing that they can compete with the best in Africa.
Yeah, Basiwe, I think I've been watching the tournament for a while now, since the beginning. And, you know, we always say that a tournament is a few games. And sometimes the smaller nations, they catch up for a while. And this is what's happening at this particular tournament. For example, Algeria, you'd expect Algeria to defending champions, and they're the best in Africa, and yet they struggling big time. You look at Egypt as well, they struggling. But when you look at the Comoros and you look at Senegal and the smaller countries that are really showing, it's got to do with where their players are currently playing in the world, and what competition and what preparations they had done in leading up to this AFCON.
Certainly. Now, we look at a country like Egypt, which you're quite familiar with, having been an assistant coach to Al Ahly there. And we look at their campaign in this Africa Cup of Nations, not quite one that has set the tournament alight. What do you make of their performance so far in this competition?
Look, again, when you look at the way they started, unlike Nigeria, they started a house on fire. They seem to be taking one step at a time. They know they have to qualify for the next stages in the groups. They have to get out of the group stages. And when you look, they lose against Nigeria in the first game. And then they come back last night and they win, not convincingly, but they win. And this is what happens in these tournaments. Now, we will see their real true colors in the next stages. You understand what I'm saying, Basiwe? It's also unlike your Senegals who are really fighting to get out of the group stages. And then, of course, you get Algeria who think, well, you know, just walking through the group stages is what will happen to them. And they get surprised. They've got to pull something out of their hat to make it to the group stages. So each country, I think, takes its time. And me watching Egypt, probably because I've been there, and watching what Carlos Queiroz does, there looks like there's a little bit of method in his madness coming back. Take it one step at a time. Don't show the whole of Africa all your cards. Everybody's worried about Mo Salah, but there's other players that are just as good who are scoring the goals. So yes, we as fans, or we as the people of that particular will expect them to be at their best all the time. But sometimes you need to build in the tournament and not start like a house on fire.
Certainly. Now, something which was always a big talking point leading up into the Africa Cup of Nations was the level of officiating. What have you made of the officiating so far in this tournament?
Some of it has been very poor, Basiwe. Some of it has been very poor. The one game that I watched where the guy he blew the whistle, I think 3 or 4 minutes before the time. He brought them back. He blew the whistle again, 1 minute less. But in some moments, it's been very good. I think as Africans, we need to give ourselves a little bit more credit. We need to criticize ourselves a lot more. And we need to make sure that we are the best we can and stop comparing ourselves to the Europeans. I sometimes feel that we don't give ourselves much credit. We don't tell ourselves that, you know, in one moment we have the best players in the world. The best players in the world that are playing, wherever they're playing on the continent, they are from Africa. And therefore, we need to make sure that we give ourselves the credit and then criticize ourselves correctly and make sure that the officiating, especially, is run by professional people. Just like your Mahrez, just like your Mo Salah. They playing at the highest level. They playing, it's their job. Our referees that referee at the highest level must be their work. It has to be their work. They cannot be policemen or school teachers at a part-time base. They have to be at their best. And this is what we need to do as Africans. We need to uplift that part of our games seriously.
Certainly, and we do hope that steps will be taken to get there. I want to step away a little bit from the AFCON. Now, there's a New York Times article by Rory Smith where he talks about the lack of recognition of those that are involved in football who are outside of Europe. And in it, he mentions your former colleague, Peter Mosimane, as well as Abel Ferreira of Palmeiras. And he says these are two individuals who really deserve their plaudits for what they've achieved in the past year. What's your take on that?
Exactly what he says. Again, I do believe that as Africans, we don't give the people who do the best jobs the accolades that they need. For example, like Peter Mosimane. At the same time, we always look to be second best to the Europeans, and we are not. We're a continent in the world, just like South America is a continent, Africa is a continent, and Europe's a continent. But because of where I always believe that it looks like it, where the world of football is being run from, which is FIFA, and CAF is just another arm to it. I think we need to change those values. Those values need to be changed, but we can only change those values within the continent. And if the continent is behind Pitso Mosimane, then we should all say that we are behind Pitso Mosimane, not South Africa or Egypt or Ghana. No, it must be the continent. And this is where we will become stronger. This is how we will show our dominance as far as, for example, like we spoke about, the referee, the players, the best players in the world. Kante, he's an African. He's not a Frenchman.
Yes.
He's an African. He was part of, and so we need to know that, and we need to be proud of that. And our African players like Didier Drogba, like Eto'o, they come back and they plow back in their country. And I'm very happy about that. We need to have more of those people doing more for the African game.
Now, let's talk about the development of football in South Africa. I mean, with the demise of the School of Excellence, how much would you say this has set us back in terms of developing football in South Africa? And also, how far apart are we from some of the best development countries when it comes to football, the likes of Germany, Holland, Brazil, as well as England?
Obviously, this is a conversation that can take us 10 hours. I think we are... My personal opinion, I think we have some of the best players in the world as South Africa. We have not developed them to the next level. For example, I'm still looking for the next Lucas Radebe, and I think Lucas has retired maybe 10, 15 years ago. We're still looking for the next captain to pick up the African Cup of Nations trophy, which was Neil Tovey. I see you showing Stephen Pienaar. We haven't developed next Stephen Pienaar. But in saying that, I think we do have enough players. I think we do have enough development coaches. It's the mentality that I think we lack. And the guys that were involved with the School of Excellence initially, they're still alive. None of them have passed on. So the mindset, the intelligence that was there to develop these players is still floating around in South Africa. And nobody is using it to its fullest. So we need to go back and we need to start something else and not try and do it on your own. We can do it together, and we can make the next. When we look at it now, AFCON is happening. We're looking at 96. Where are our current players now? We should be there. We should be there. We should be there every time AFCON is played. South Africa should be there. I believe we are one of the better countries on the African continent. But as far as development is concerned, I think we have We have the facility, we have the people who can do it, and we have the product that can come out and be the next Lucas Radebes or the next Steven Pinas or the next Penny McCarthy's. There are those players that are walking around our areas that have got the ability to do it. And at the same time, it also depends on who we hire as coaches going forward, and how far do you want to take your team to be in the PSL.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Coach Cavin Johnson. Have a blessed day further.
Busiwe, thank you for having me on your show, and thank you to your listeners, and hopefully the information we gave on football serves football well. Thank you.
All right, that is, of course, Coach Cavin Johnson. We talk about the AFCON and, of course, the development of football in South Africa. But that's how we wrap up your sports in this hour. Here are your morning headlines.